Check, check, 1, 2. How's everybody doing? Pamela May is drunk. Interesting. Well, sometimes you need to get your drinky on. I get it. Every now and then. Sometimes you need to cut loose. Feel loose. I get it. It's all good. We've all been there. Sorry, guys. Just getting everything set up. Usual busy day, busy time. All right. And oops, got to start the camera. Anybody else following Elon Musk on Twitter? Hello, hello. Let me see, is that correct? No, it should be the other way, right? Yeah. This thing always gets... There we go. Thing always gets flipped. One way or the other. Elon Musk, ew. Elon Musk is awesome. Dude, Dogecoin, man. Dogecoin's blowing up. I don't know if you guys are investing, but when it dips, I'd say go for it. Why not? Sorry, I'm eating while I'm on here because I'm starving and been way too busy lately to eat. Anyway, how's everybody doing? All right. Just gotta get back to where we were. So I'll be doing some traditional, like classical, just anatomy sculpting here, and then moving on from this in the next hour onto a likeness of Keanu Reeves from The Matrix. So that'll be fun. What's up, VK? Pamela, yes, this is a work in progress, definitely. No, this is definitely not done. None of what I'm working on currently is finished at all. Obviously, I guess it's all in progress. Sorry, I'm just getting some reference up here. I'm using this classic anatomy books. That's a shot of it. It's this one, the Atlas of Anatomy for Artists, classic. Hi. So this is what I'm referencing right now as far as like torso goes, you know. So it's just a decent rough reference. But I'll probably need to move on from this soon because it's covered, I think, much of the abdomen area. So I think we're gonna have to be moving on to some other pages from the book today. Yeah, it's a great book. It's a classic. So yeah, if you guys don't have it, I'm sure you can probably find a PDF of it online, and or you know, maybe check Amazon or somewhere that might have a copy, or other websites. But it's totally worth it. It's an invaluable resource to have. You know, as are like just you know the classic art books in general. You'll find a lot that just deal with anatomy, and you know, there's a lot of famous ones out there. And it's always good to have some references physically on hand in case you just don't have internet or you just, you know, I don't know, whatever reason. It's great to have them. I love having physical books. It just, you know, you can't substitute just putting something next to your screen versus, you know, having to Google it or save images or whatever. But there's also like, what is it, PerfRef or Perf? I think it's called PerfRef. I think I have it. A friend of mine, what is it called? A friend of mine recommended it. I downloaded it, but I haven't even been using it yet, and it's shame on me. Yeah, PureRef, that's what it is. PureRef. Yeah, it seems like it's a great app. I should be using it. I'm not. I'm an old man, and then I'm like, well, stuck in my ways. I got to keep adapting, but it's also something that's not like urgent. Like it's not necessarily as urgent software as like, I don't know, learning on Unreal, getting better at that. Doing this next piece that I'm finishing up for a magazine ad article. It's all done in Unreal. Well, I mean ZBrush and Unreal, but in Substance. But it's yeah, certain pieces of software are definitely much better to you know, focus on learning. Is this a historical piece or your own inspiration? It's mixed. It's based on the original Cupid reviving Psyche, or Psyche revived by Cupid's kiss is the actual name. And let me bring up the I have the windows saved from last time so that people can see what I am referencing. Let's see here. So let's see. Okay. Yeah, so this is the original. This is the classic piece you can see in the Louvre in France, still to this day. Oops. No, wrong program. Don't want to open up Marmoset. Sorry. So this is the original, and I've always loved it. And I thought it was just a masterpiece. It's beautiful. But I always just felt like, I don't know, the faces have that generic kind of look from the era, you know, kind of David-esque, just very like blah, kind of like androgynous. And I kind of wanted I wanted the genders to be more emboldened and just more pronounced, more glorified. So I went from this as my basis to then my version. So this is my take on it, where the characters look much more mature, adult, more realistic. And I'm happy with it. It's not perfect by any means, but I mean, I feel like Natty's solid overall. Things could be a little bit better here and there, but it was a rush job too. I did it in like 2 days, 3 days, as far as sculpting it went and preparing it for 3D printing, and then it was days and days and days of printing. This was all done on an Ultimaker 3 extended. But now this next version I'll be printing on the Formlabs Form 3. So yeah, I sort of took the mythology and kind of ran with it a little bit instead of having him just cop and a feel. I thought he descended into Hades to save his love, so I figured it made more sense for him to have his bow, because he had his his quiver in the original. You can't see it here. I think this is actually just the lighting's different, yeah. But yeah, you can't see it here, but behind him, right in the same spot, is where the quiver is. But he doesn't have a bow in the original, so I figured instead of him just making out in hell with his love, it'd make more sense that he'd be protecting her, you know, with some sort of weapon and getting the hell out of there. So I put these cool little blades on his bow and gave his bow like this reservoir for oil, so you could actually. I was thinking about putting a little LED in here so it could look like a little flame, so you could shoot like flaming arrows. But maybe this next version I'll actually run a little battery pack and wire through there so you can actually have a flickering flame when he's on his ascent from hell, from Hades. So yeah, so that's where we're at here. This is the sequel, so to speak, to the original. Yeah, so it's sort of a series of sculptures. Maybe I'll do one more after this, I don't know, with these characters. But yeah, so that's where we're at. And I'm just putting in more detail as far as like even musculature and whatnot, because I don't think I even had, I don't know if I had this level of detail in the original. I haven't really looked at the original model, like 3D model, in the computer in a while. So I keep accidentally clicking on other stuff. Sorry. Yeah, no, I don't really. Yeah, I don't really think you see his ribs all that much, really, in any of the renders I have or any of the photos. Yeah, but I don't think I put that much. I don't think I put that much detail in his obliques and elsewhere. But anyway, so yeah, looks fantastical. Loving the porcelain material. Flaming arrow sounds cool. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate the kind words. Oh man. So has anybody invested in Dogecoin? It just hit 8 cents again. It hasn't hit that in like since it first spiked. Awesome. Sorry, I've just been getting more into investing in general, and Dogecoin is it's blowing up. Elon's been really Elon's been helping it out, which is hilarious. Anyway, so let me just fix a few other things here. So what's everybody been doing? How's everybody been doing during the lockdown? Anyone doing anything interesting? Learning any new skills? You guys up in your ZBrush game? Tried only the 2 main ones. What are the 2 main ones? Sorry, VK. Bitcoin and Ethereum. Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I have a little bit in those too, but not as much as I put into Doge, only because I feel like right now the gains from Doge will be far more than, you're getting more for less essentially. For every dollar you're putting in, you're getting more Dogecoins. So if it blows up, even if it makes it to 50 cents, I mean, dang, dude, that's if you get a lot, if you have thousands of Dogecoins, you're going to be doing well. Be doing nice profit for, little money. So yeah. Why Pixologic not providing free licenses to students like Maya Substance Painter? Good question. I think because I don't know exactly, but I would think that's just it's a hard model to keep going. Um, I don't speak for them, so I can't really say what their pricing mentality is exactly, but I would assume that it's just not maybe financially viable. I would just think that would be the most logical answer. But you'd have to ask a Pixologic representative. I'm sure they've already considered it, and it's just probably not. It's not a viable option that would help them. But they have great prices. I mean, they have low prices, for subscribing and have the full package. So I mean, if you can do like 40, I think it's like $40 a month. You have full access to the software. It's not bad. Trying to learn how to model in Maya, but it's kind of difficult. Prefer ZBrush. Yeah, good thing they lockdown brought me this time. Yeah, ZBrush is not a box modeling software. Yeah, so I can't really speak to exactly why they haven't done that, but I would just assume it just doesn't make business sense. That would be my guess. So here I'm just using the move brush and just kind of pushing the one form around. So I have these different parts that for those who don't remember or who haven't seen from previous ones, since this is taken apart from, I took bits and pieces from the original and I'm repurposing them and resculpting them into the new pose, keeping the arm as is, but chopped it. I kept it where I lopped it off for the connecting portion here. Sorry about that. Silence my phone. Okay, so that's why Doge just took a huge spike, because Elon just wrote, "Who let the Doge out?" Nice, hilarious. Yeah, so like I said, guys, if you want to make some quick money, I mean, I'm no financial advisor. Don't take anything from me from actual like great financial advice. But I mean, he's been making this thing rise. He did a poll, and about 2 million people voted on the poll, and his poll was you know, the future currency of Earth. Would you like it to be Dogecoin to the moon, which was option one, or option two was every other cryptocurrency or all of the cryptos combined? And it was about 71% voted for Dogecoin to the moon, and 21% voted for every other crypto. So 2 million people. That's a fair sampling size. I mean, that's a pretty good it's a pretty good poll. It's a pretty good volume of people. I mean, it's Twitter, so whatever. But so yeah, interesting. Just interesting times, man. I'd say it's a great time to start investing if you have some extra cash or you have some, whether anything. I mean, if you have even some unemployment cash, or if you're making some extra money, or you've got some saved, maybe have it work for you a little bit more by investing some crypto. Always basics is just buy low, sell high. Or just hold if you believe it's going to go up higher. I think he's got. I saw there was Gene Simmons tweeted Elon's tweet, which was him as Rafiki. He put his face on Rafiki from Lion King. He's holding up baby Simba, which is the face of the Doge of the Shiba Inu. And then Gene Simmons tweeted that, but then replaced Simba with another Rafiki with his face on it, and him holding up Simba. And then Snoop Dogg apparently just jumped on it and did the same thing, except now Gene Simmons is being held by Elon, and then Gene is holding Snoop Dogg, and Snoop Dogg's holding Simba. So it's just freaking hilarious, just stupid good fun. Just who would have thought, like, one of the richest men in the world, the richest man in the world right now, would have such a such a funny sense of humor. It's great. I love it. I'm also a fan. I mean, I love Teslas. I think they're great. I want to get one eventually. But my several of my last three roommates before I just have gone roommateless, they all worked for Tesla. They were all interns. And the second to last one, he designed the Cyber Quad, actually, the ATV that goes in the back of the Cybertruck. He designed that, most of it, pretty much, which is pretty awesome. So he showed me some behind the scenes photos after, like when they're on stage, and behind the scenes there when they were launching it. He never told me anything about it. Like, he couldn't tell me anything about it before it launched, but he was responsible. But after it launched, he showed me some cool shots from behind the stage. It's pretty cool. And you got to go and sit on it, ride it a little bit, and it's big too. It's bigger than you think. Pretty cool vehicle. Pretty awesome stuff. So it was fun to get a little bit of an inside taste of Tesla from my former roommates. They were great. So yeah, the one who designed the Cyberquad, Simon, he's been hired by Tesla, so that's great. But he's over in Sweden right now, so he'll be coming over for that gig later this year, I think. Anyway, I just plain hate ZModeler. Rather use Blender. Ah, Pamela, for the base work. Dogecoin, you say, is hot right now. Yes, Dogecoin is hot. A bit of a skeptic still. Yeah, I gotcha. I know many people are, but there's still a lot of people who are backing it, so it's sort of, 50-50, I guess. ZBrush booleans confuse me so much, but they're more powerful than blenders, so I got a deal. Invest in Japanese yen, can't lose. Interesting. Haven't thought about that. Haven't looked really in Japanese currency. I mean, it's worth more, right? It's a higher conversion than the US dollar, isn't it? I don't know what the conversion rate is though. Excuse me. I was just doing a little detailing here, just doing a little tight pec muscles. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit too much like cloth. Get back on that. So at how do you say it? Akishit, is it Akichet? Um, what confuses you about ZBrush booleans? Is there anything I can help you with that might help you feel a little bit more confident in using ZBrush boolean? Live boolean? I love it. It's great. I use it all the time now for all my current 3D print pieces. I really get a lot out of it. It helps a lot. If there's anything I can help you with, let me know. Also feels like the abs here should be a little bit more raised on this side, a little bit more stretched. And this guy could be dropped a little bit. Use a form soft brush here a bit just to bulk up this muscle a little bit. I forget, what is the name of that one that's above the ilium? It's your love handles, basically. What are they called? I should know this, but it's been forever. What are they called? External oblique muscle? Okay, I guess it's just the external oblique. Yeah, it's just known as the external oblique. Simple. But yeah, just interesting. Okay. Solo out the torso for a moment here. And so you got that. I guess this is that the trapezius or what is that? That's number 2. It's the Latissimus Dorsi. Oh yeah, trapezius is upper. Yeah, so this is the Latissimus Dorsi. These guys, left and right, and they kind of go over the external obliques. Where they insert exactly? Yeah, they go behind the ilium. Okay, so yeah, they go along the side here. So they kind of come down like so. Actually, let me back this up. Oh yeah, so anyone who's want to watch the football game today, I worked on a commercial. It's pretty exciting. So if you guys see a Verizon commercial, gaming commercial, Verizon 5G, and it's starring a certain famous actor as Nick Fury. I was lucky to be the one that made him. So we'll see how it turns out. I haven't seen the finished animation at all. I just did all the modeling for Mr. Jackson, so that's pretty exciting. But I know he did all the mocap and voice acting and all that. So as long as everything came together, it should be pretty fun to see. It should be pretty funny. So yeah, keep an eye out for that if you guys are watching the Super Bowl today. I worked on a commercial for it. Yay! It's pretty exciting. It's my first time ever doing a Super Bowl ad. And I think there's another ad. I know I just finished working on another ad too with the same company, but I don't know if it's airing during the Super Bowl or if it's going to be airing at a later date somewhere else. So I don't know if I can really say anything about it yet because it's not out yet. I haven't even checked. I was so busy this morning and afternoon, I didn't even have a chance to check on YouTube if the Verizon commercial's out yet. But that's kind of the cool thing is you don't really have to watch the Super Bowl necessarily. Just look up like the ads of the Super Bowl or like the best ads or whatever, and hopefully mine will be in there among others. But we'll see. would I recommend any anatomy book in particular? I mean, the atlas for the anatomy. What is it? An atlas of what's it called again? The an atlas of anatomy for artists. A lot of A's. I recommend this one very much so. There's also like a lot of good medical books, you know, with excellent medical illustrations. So if you get any half decent anatomy and physiology book, like textbook from, you know, for high school or college level, you know, medical school level, you can find some used ones for a decent price, and they'll be incredibly, you know, detailed. But it's almost overkill because it's a lot of times it's far more than just muscles and skeleton. Of course, it goes into like your endocrine system, and you know, it covers everything, your lymphatic system and everything. So you know, if you just want muscles and skeleton, I mean, probably find an art centric book like this, like Anatomy for Artists. I mean, almost any of them would be decent, I would say. This is a classic, and it's iconic, and it's good. It's got some great photos and some great reference. Um, you know, but you know, it's hard to go wrong, I think, with any half decent, you know, anatomy art book because they cover the same things. Yeah, I'm not sure what you guys are talking about. How many too many ribs though? These aren't designating on ribs. These are the other obliques, which I keep forgetting the names. What are they freaking called again? Um, the Sartorius anterior. There we go. The Satori. I'm not sure if you call them plural like that, but yeah, um, that's what these are. But they're not one per rib or anything like that. I think they're different. There's fewer of them than there are ribs. Um, but yeah, I think we have men. I don't know. I thought women and men always have the same amount because you have a false rib. I think you have one that's lower. That's kind of like they call it like a floating rib because it doesn't connect around the whole, you know, like to the sternum. Um, but I actually don't remember that from university when I should have. I studied A&P for years because I was studying the MCATs. I was getting ready to go to apply to med school, and then I was like, nah, I like art too much. I eventually just had to say no thanks for a future in medicine. Worked 2 years in an ER and it was done. I was done. It's rough. It's definitely rough, and I didn't want to become desensitized to human suffering, and I reached a point where I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm done. And there's definitely, you know, like any job, there's definitely some callous people in there who shouldn't be working. They shouldn't be nurses or doctors. But a lot of people go in because they want the prestige or they want the money. Some people go in because, you know, a lot of people do go in because they want to help, of course, too. But there's definitely some that get cold, and it's almost like they should retire or move on somewhere else because, you know, some doctors and nurses just don't treat patients the way they should. That's always not fun to see. But yeah, I got kind of sick of some of that, and the stress, you know, that stress is just in the emergency room it's rough. So I moved on to geriatric care for a while and did that for a couple of years where I just did like in-home nursing care and like just really much more like personal, you know, not so just like quick in and out as ERs are. And that was cool. That was great too. Felt great just to be able to spend time with the elderly, and you know, there's so many great sweet people that are in that category. So I was grateful for that time too, and then you know it served its time, and eventually I just became just I decided I was good. I was done. I was done with medicine. So after a certain point, I just said I need to just do what I love and figure out how to make a living doing it, and that led to doing like all kinds of different art and figuring out graphic design wise at first like where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do, and you know for a while it was like, oh, you just want to do ads, and I thought no, because that's just what is your end result? You're creating landfill stuff, really. You know, like no one's gonna frame an ad. No one's gonna take an ad and be like, oh, this magazine ad means so much to me. I'm gonna put it in a frame and hang it on my wall like that. You know, there's none of that. So I was looking at like concept art for a while, and I still would like to do more concept art in a sense, or at least concept design. I just need to do more of it. You know, I want to do a lot of my own stuff, but I wouldn't mind doing that for production too, because I did a little bit. I was lucky to do some on Lion King, but it didn't make it into the film because I was brought in so last minute, unfortunately. But they loved what I did. They were like, well, we wish we would have hired Daniel 3 months ago. And I was like, shit. But at least Jon Favreau liked it, and other people really liked it, so that was cool. But yeah. So anyway, sorry. So I'm just doing the Latissimus Dorsi. And what is this other one? It's what is that? The sacrospinalis muscle. There we go. Sacrospinalis. That's what this one is here. That runs kind of like on the spine. Yeah, I get cramps right around here sometimes. Lower back, lower lumbar. Because I sit like crap sometimes and overexert myself. Sorry, I'm missing a bunch of chat. What are you guys saying? Io Matt, how you doing, sir? Can Twitch users actually see your YouTube comments? I think so, yes. Totally crashed twice. Dan, you're from New York? No, I'm from Pennsylvania. But I hear that I kind of have a slight New York accent at times. Certain words I say, I guess, so it's East Coast, you know. But I grew up in Pennsylvania. I would go to Manhattan a lot. I mean, relatively. I enjoyed Manhattan a lot. I was glad I got to go there, spend a little time there again. Actually, just before, because after I went to a conference that I spoke at for Formlabs at their summit, and that was great. And then I decided to ahead of time I rescheduled my flight without telling my parents because they lived in Pennsylvania, and so I'm trying to remember now. Was it that one or was it? No, it was the second one because I went there and it came back. So no, it wasn't during that summit. It was the other time. So my friend of mine got married. My friend Odell Palmer, he got married to his girlfriend, and they had their wedding in Massachusetts, right on the border between Massachusetts and New York. So then I traveled down from there, took a train, went to New York, ran around New York quickly, hopped on a train, and we took it down into Pennsylvania to visit my folks and surprise them, and that was great. But yeah, I spent a fair amount of time in Manhattan. Definitely took a bunch of trips up by myself and with friends to experience the city and just do some research too. I've gone multiple times when I was a teenager, but then as an adult, I definitely went for research for a book I've been on and off writing for well over like I think a decade now. I guess, yeah, because I started the idea back in like 2002, 2003, 2002. Yeah, because my last year in university was 2002. That's when I came up with the idea, and at first I wanted to make it film, and then I said no, I'll make it a book because at least I can keep more of the rights and more of the story intact the way I want it. And now I'm going back to like, oh, maybe I'll just go from making a book into just doing a film instead of writing novels. But we'll see. So, but yeah, so I went up to New York a lot because a lot of this story takes place in Manhattan, a big chunk of it. So it's sort of a supernatural thriller slash near future kind of murder mystery whodunit, but like it gets pretty big, pretty epic scale. Kind of a little bit of Born Identity and a little bit of Minority Report. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool stuff. I think a lot of people will really enjoy it. Honestly, it's a lot of real science, a lot of real future tech, and it's crazy because a lot of the stuff I came up with that I thought up in the early 2000s, between 2002 and 2005ish, is where I developed most of the ideas. a lot of that tech is starting to become reality, and it's set for toward a couple decades from now. So it's not too far away from this, the time frame. It's not too far from now. Um, but it's crazy because I sort of predicted a lot of things like Neuralink, what Elon's been doing. I came up with a whole system very similar to that, for a counter-terrorist unit, and weapons tech. It's been catching up a bit too. So it's a pretty spectacular adventure, and it's I'm a huge tech nerd, and obviously my background in medicine and science plugs in a lot into it. I'm a huge Michael Crichton fan. So anyway, so yeah, that's why I would go to New York a lot. So that's probably why I have a bit of a East Coast accent, because I grew up there, and visit a lot of Philly and a lot of New York. Um, my parents are Spanish, and they spoke Spanish a lot in the house, but never really taught me. I mean, I understand a lot more than I speak, so I can glean what anyone's saying in a conversation and kind of piece together what they're talking about. But I'm not totally fluent, which is embarrassing but true. And but maybe that, I don't know. I grew up in like Dutch area, Pennsylvania, like around Amish country, just outside of Philly. So I'm sure that all those different dialects have merged together into making my accent what it is. Um, CGMA is an amazing online school. Giants for the win. Work for Super Bowl. Wow, congrats. Thanks, man. Especially the patients swing the IUP clutch. Yeah, that can happen, man. We had definitely had a lot of mental cases come in now and then where they'd be violent. Criminals coming too, like high on meth or cocaine. They'd be spitting at us, trying to bite us, and we still have to work on them. Yeah, it was terrible. There was, I mean, like the work was great. I was grateful for like really grateful for the experiences. But I mean, it's just, yeah, you get the ER, you get everything. You get gunshot wounds, stabbings. The worst is when children or women are hurt and you have to work on them or they die. That's always been the hardest. It's really, it's horrible, and that's a big part of why I was like, I'm done. Um, it's just hard to watch children suffer, or just to see even worse, for me, than the patients passing away. Harder, I should say, not worse, but like was watching, having to be the person that often I had to be the person that welcomes the family back to the trauma bay, where we would cover the body and just have like the face exposed as long as it was okay to see, and we would just put the light up and bounce it off the walls, just give it a nice warm ambiance, and just let them come back and say their goodbyes to their loved one, to grieve, And that was just so many times I had to be the one that was doing that, and because the doctors were needed elsewhere and the nurses are busy, and so they're like, Daniel, go get the family and tell them they can come back and say goodbye. And it's just like, oh, that was just the worst. That was really horrible. Um, yeah, just and it's like, what do you do? What do you? It's just like, oh, it's just, how do you, There's nothing. I mean, nothing you really can say or do other than just show them back and then shut up and walk away. But ugh, it was horrible. It was rough. I mean, it was really rough. So yeah. So I'm grateful for all the experiences. It touched me tremendously, and it forever shaped my life. But I'm glad to be away from it for now. Just you know, you don't inhale so much of that, I think, and it's again, it takes certain kind of special people to be able to delineate and separate that without losing their compassion, and I really mean that, because I've seen a lot of people who just, they lost their compassion, and they were just treating people like cattle, kind of. I mean, they wouldn't be dicks to the families or anything, but they would just be dicks to the patients. And I'm like, dude, nah, I'm good. I don't need to be around that. I don't want to lose my sensitivity to suffering and to people. So anyway, um, these are just rough landmarks for the muscles. I'll refine some of this because they should be smaller. Like, that's huge. Um, all right, we got some spam in here. And block that guy. Only take medicine. Not too shabby. Not lately. Are you allowed to show the concept for the Lion King? I mean, no. I mean, I don't have really the exact concept art. I wasn't allowed to take it out of the studio, but I remade because I was working on it in such a tight schedule. So when I was back home, I started working on a version of it that was very close. Excuse me, to the original. And I've actually taken it further now. So if you go back in my earlier streams, you can see some of the Lion King work that I was working on as a tribute piece. I need to finish it. I haven't finished it. But it's I worked on the scene where Mufasa comes to Simba in the clouds, and it was a completely different scene than what you see in the final remake. Now, it was much more like connecting the dots from what was said in the beginning of the story and uh, what happened in the middle of the story. So, or at the beginning of the third act, really. So I designed the whole scene where when Simba hears the voice of Mufasa calling him from the heavens, and he sees his reflection in the water. Once he looks up, that moment is when the whole scene is what I designed, and it's basically like I remember when he told Simba, remember the kings of the past are those stars looking down on us. So I figured, well, where's the whole star thing? Because when in the cartoon, it's just he just forms out of a storm. I'm like, that's not the stars. That's the heavens, but it's not the stars. So I figured let's tie it all together and make it like make sense in their mythology. So I had this large. He's at this large lake, and then beyond the lake, a huge lake on the far side, there's a big thunderstorm kind of brewing, kind of rolling in toward him, or rolling around anyway, but whichever direction doesn't matter, really. But so then as he looks up, I had the line of clouds, the storms that were pretty low, and then above it you could see the sky, the night sky, and one of the stars is extra bright, and it gets brighter and brighter and brighter as you start realizing it's a shooting star that's coming kind of arcing toward us. And then as it comes down, it's almost like magnetically kind of attracted to this lightning, this thunderstorm, and so then there's almost like a magnetic chemical reaction, electrical reaction. So as what looks like a shooting star, which is really the soul of Mufasa, this beautiful white light kind of enters into this cloud storm system, and all the lightning and clouds boil up to kind of coalesce with the soul. The soul uses the clouds and all the lightning as its manifestation to take a form to show Mufasa. And so it's this beautiful rumbling and roaring of lightning and thunder and this like godly like power entering into our reality, into our atmosphere, and roars with lightning and thunder, and you see this beautiful glorious like holy like light pour out from like the star, as if a star was sitting inside the clouds and almost making this beautiful orange sunset like glow with a lot of blues and hues in there. And then I also had the lake then like a helicopter hovering over water, because the storm was so powerful and all the wind was pushing toward us, towards Simba and the camera, and water splattered up in the camera lens. Then you'd see these beautiful ripples just pulsating like a heartbeat, like a giant heartbeat or a breathing, constantly flowing the ripples of the water of the lake toward us, and these concentric rings pulling out. Really just a beautiful scene, I thought, and everyone seemed to really love it. They were impressed, but it just wasn't enough time because there was a lot of simulation involved, and they wanted me to design the sculpture or the clouds of Mufasa in the form of Mufasa, and they'd use that as a Houdini container, so that all the particles would fill up and form that shape. But for whatever reason, I guess it was just, I mean, we worked up into the last minute. It just wasn't enough time to even simulate everything. So unfortunately, my work didn't make it into the movie, which was a real bummer because I love the original Lion King a lot. And yeah, granted, I was a little disappointed. I've had to be honest. I was disappointed with how this version turned out, just because it's so much of the music and so much of the voice acting. To me, it's like you hear a great song. If you know a great song, you know how it should sound. Even if there were mistakes in it or whatever, those become like burned into your memory of what a song should sound like. So then when someone does a weird cover of it, it just doesn't have the same appeal usually as the original. It's rare that a remix or a remake, I shouldn't say remix, remixes can often be better than the originals, but it's rare that a cover like that's trying to imitate the original and trying to plus it maybe in some way, or at least sound as good. It's rare that they sound as good. It usually sounds like a cover, and most of the time it's always disappointing. It doesn't have that right crescendo or the right notes and just that right rhythm or just that right feel or inflection in the voice or whatever. There's always something missing. There's nuances missing that are very detailed and specific, but your brain just gets that burned in if you listen to the song like 1,000 times. So that to me is how this new Lion King was. I mean, it looks a billion times more realistic, obviously, because it's CG and it just looked great. But from a technical aspect, it looks fantastic. But I feel like they pulled back the emotion too much in the face, because real lions, I feel, are more emotive than what we saw in this remake. And Yeah, and then just the voice acting. I mean, they're all fine actors. I just wouldn't have picked a lot of them for. I just would have honestly. My personal preference would be keep the audio exactly the same. Just transpose the audio. Don't even touch it, and just put new visuals to the audio. Leave the audio alone because it's so iconic and everyone's so attached to it. We all grew up with it. When you put this whole new cast and everybody into it, it just sort of ruins it. You know. I mean, and all the actors are still alive, so I would like if you wanted to add some new scenes or add some new lines, just have those actors come back, do their voices, and if you need to make them sound a little younger, just you know, just do. I know it's not more than just, but you could pitch them up a little bit so they sound younger, so their voices sound a little higher, because everyone gets a little deeper and a little more scraggly. So just tweak them so that your audio matches pretty close to the younger version of them, and you're good to go in general. But I would figure that would be far more. That would have gone over far more well than the backlash that the new Lion King got, unfortunately. And that whole scene with Mufasa in the clouds and all that. I even researched it when he blows away. I looked up like real storm systems and how they work, like anvil cloud systems and how they ascend. So when he leaves, he doesn't just like blow away like nothing. His mane kind of pulls up and he moves upward as the clouds start to pull up, and his mane pulls up into the anvil cloud storm system, where they get so high up in the atmosphere it catches the sunlight, the sunset from across the curvature of the earth. So you get this beautiful orange to blue glow as the storm then kind of furiously erupts and then fades off into the distance. So I really researched everything so that it would make sense, like meteorologically. It wasn't just like, oh, let's just make some magic happen in the clouds. Like, no, this Soul of Mufasa, like the star enters our atmosphere. You have all that mixture of events, beautiful power and light and sound, and the epic sounds of his speaking would maybe also move with a little bit of lightning, and you'd hear the rumble of thunder trail off from his voice. So I really thought of the whole scene and just thought, like, this is what it needs. This is what it would have been awesome. And a lot of people seem to agree. It's just there wasn't enough time to put it in. So major bummer. But oh well. Maybe I don't know. I thought about this too. Like maybe I'll just remake that version of my version of that scene just in Unreal, just for fun. Just do that and just put it out there just to show you guys like what I saw in my head and get them as close as I can in Unreal, which is you can get pretty good now in Unreal. Like, you can get some pretty impressive visuals. So I might do that just for the hell of it, just for shits and giggles, just to show people what I saw in my head and like make it really clear. Like this is what I conceived. And I think it would be a treat. I think it'd be a treat for everybody. But yeah, so that version of Mufasa that I was working on, it's going to be a 3D printed statue. I'm going to give to Jon Favreau and my friend and art director Mishi McKeag. She's the daughter of Ian McKeag. A lot of people know Ian's work from Star Wars and other films. John Carter of Mars. So anyway, yeah. So that's my sad adventure, bittersweet adventure in working on Lion King. It was cool though. It was an honor to be a part of it. I was still glad to be asked to be part of it. Well, hello from Upper West Manhattan. Oh wow, Pam, you're in Manhattan. Very cool. I love New York. Uh, I cheat to use Daz studio figures. Nice. Um, my total poly count. How do you usually set your Dynamesh res? So none of this is in Dynamesh right now. I think one of them was, but right now it's not. Total poly count right now is 42 million. It's a lot. That's not normal. I think it's because I have some things very highly subdivided and not as efficiently modeled. And there's a lot of things here that are left over from other things. Some of it's maybe actually, it might be the cloth too. Like I think this might be pretty high res. Like this cloth alone, all right, it's 250,000. That's not much at all actually. I don't know. Let's see what is the highest density. It's just his head. That's a million. 1.2 mil. And we can go down here. The other head I referenced. Oh wow. So the hair, 7 million. Oh, that's the old head. Sorry. So the new head. All right, this is the one I'm using. Yeah, the old head I don't have shown. The new head is just so. All right, the head right now is at 100 and something thousand, 117,000, but actually fully 7 million. Okay, yeah, because I want to get the detail on the hair for the facial hair and stubble and whatnot. So the other head, and then the full head of hair here again for detail for resolution. That's at 7 million, and I'm gonna futz with that more so it's not so perfectly. Maybe I might leave it symmetrical. I don't know. It's kind of cool. Yeah, eyes, who cares? Nothing. Body. So this is probably like what, like 6 million? Oh no, go yeah, one more. So it's 4 million, yeah. So body's like 4 million. Wings are 400,000. Is that fully? Yeah. It's 1,000,000. So yeah, a lot of things here are at 1,000,000. So like the base here with all the rippling dust coming off here, that's all 1,000,000. Stone 200,000. Cloth is 250. His bow is 1,000,000. Arm is 400,000. Almost 500. 1,000,000 for this piece of cloth. So all this cloth was done in ZBrush, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. This was all done in ZBrush. Just using a ribbon, just using like a plane with just a bunch of segments in it. And then I think I did thicken. I think if I'm not mistaken, I did thicken. I'm trying to remember how I did that actually. I think it was, yeah, add thickness to it. That's what I did. But yeah, I used their cloth simulation, their new cloth sim, which was great. And we got, yeah, so she's 8,000,000. Hair is like 400. So yeah. Yeah, so it's basically everything. Some of this is turned off because I'm actually not using it anymore, or it's old. So it's all mixed. But yeah, it's not going to be 42 million when it's all done. I think when I dynamesh things together and I segment things, it'll be different, and then I'll decimate those so that it's easier to bring into form preform for the Formlabs printer. And we're gonna transition over to Neo here in a minute. I almost said Elon. How do you usually set your Dynamesh res? So yeah, Dynamesh res, as far as just if I use it, it's all about relevance to the scale of your floor. So this grid dictates the resolution really of what you're gonna get out of Dynamesh. So with Dynamesh, it really depends. It depends on how much resolution I need, really. So that's how I decide. I just make something to a certain scale, and then keep resolution rather low, because something in relevance to this volume, like if it's something that's like around this size, that's going to be a pretty heavy mesh even at like 300. So if it's taking up like 3/4 of this square of your grid, you want to keep your resolution rather low. Unless you're going for like crazy detail that you want to retain, then go higher, but still be careful because you could get a lot of polys if you're going up into the thousands here, for something that's taking up 3/4 of your floor, your grid. John Carter of Mars has I say Carpenter? Thinking like I'm thinking of that horror director. Anyway, John Carter Mars says one of the most interesting creature designs ever. Yeah, for sure. What's up, Alex? Why not retop with a high-res subtools? Am I doing Neo today? Yeah, I'm gonna be jumping on Neo here in a few minutes. What's good, people? Happy Sunday. Yes, happy Sunday. Yeah, so some of this has been retopoed. So like he's a low cage. So like that's a pretty nice low cage mesh for Cupid. And for Psyche, I think I retopoed her, or I redynameshed her because I wanted to keep a lot of her pose. She's at 8,000,000, but then that's subdivided up from 2. So there you go. Because yeah, I didn't really want to change her pose a tremendous amount. I didn't need to, so I think that's what I did. Is I dynameshed and then subdivided. I think that's, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So you can see here, like just the density. But yeah, no need to really remesh. I mean, or to retopo her completely, because I knew that the pose that I was going to do was going to be very subtle changes. So yeah, that's why. Yeah, I still have to do a bunch of work on her to get clavicle look better, and detail her muscles as well, define them a bit more. Don't want her to be like too cut, like not like crazy cut, because I guess in the story she's immortal, if I'm not mistaken. So he's the god and she's like a beautiful mortal, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I was just looking here at some of that shoulder anatomy. Sorry, just checking some quick notifications here. The stupid bowl's about to be on. You're gonna miss it. The millionaires playing the millionaires. And there will be tears, and someone will walk away being richer, and the others will walk away being rich. Yeah, it's just being rich. It's true. But like I was saying, I don't know, Dougie, if you heard earlier, I worked on a Super Bowl commercial, so it'd be cool to see it. It's a Verizon 5G gaming commercial. I made Sam Jackson for it, so that'll be cool. It'll be fun to see. Um, he did all the motion capture and voice acting for it, so that'll be cool. Randy Yang, thank you, sir. I mean, stunning work. I hope it's. I thank you. Appreciate the kind words. I mean, it's still getting there, but thank you. That's the goal. It's always the goal for me. Is always to create impactful art, beautiful art, something that people enjoy looking at, that makes them think and feel some positive emotions, make them excited. That's always my goal. Excuse me. See, that's weird. Why is it breaking up like that? It's almost like something up with a stroke. It's weird. That's weird. Why is it doing that? That's not normal. Yeah, why is it doing that? It's so weird. Did I turn something on or off? That's bizarre. So let's do this. Quick save, and I guess we'll jump onto Neo now anyway. I'm going to restart ZBrush quick because I think something happened to that brush, and I don't know why it's acting that way. I could double check the stroke, but it might just be a glitch. It might just be something that needs to be uh, revised. Pedro from Barcelona. Hola. ¿Cómo estás? Reset brushes. Yeah, I guess, right? I mean, can you reset all the brushes, though? Is there a way to just reset brushes? Oh, yeah, reset all brushes. Let's see. Thank you. I forgot about that. Let's see. Aha! Thank you. Yeah, that worked. I forgot all about that. I almost never, ever use that. Interesting. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Yeah, because the deltoid has like 3 heads. So I think this is about right. Ish. But this will have to be like much more smoothed out. Yeah. I don't want to make the mistake either, though, of making everything like so defined where it looks like everyone's having like a muscle spasm, because there's a lot of superhero characters that are designed that way, and it's very ridiculous. I mean, it might look cool as like an anatomy study, and just to be like, oh my god, they're so ripped, but it's really it's not how the body works. It's like if you were having a seizure or some sort of like insane total muscle spasm where every muscle's contracting, and it's just like, it's just you wouldn't be able to even contract certain muscles in certain poses because they'd be opposing the opposite muscles, and it's at least not consciously. If you're having like a seizure or something, yeah. But anyway, so let's save this guy. Yes, overwrite. We shall move on to Keanu. Mr. Reeves. He's making a scowl because he's in a certain... This is going to be for a certain scene from The Matrix, and I got to open up my reference again because I forgot to do that. Sorry, one sec. El Matrix. I've never seen a Spanish ad for this, but that would be really funny, actually. I bet that would be comical. See, this is actually... this is like a behind-the-scenes still, I think? Yeah, that's a still. Because this is the film, this is the final film version, and then this is a still. Pretty awesome. Yeah, because you never get to see his legs like this. Like, it's always letterboxed. But yeah, this is basically the whole pose I'm going to be doing. that's a facial expression. I might tone it down a little bit though, because it is kind of funny. As last stream I was talking about, I did Taekwondo for years, during and after college, and I still keep up with it now and then, but it's more like just mixed with Krav Maga and just basic self-defense stuff for fun mostly, but also just to keep sharp. But yeah, so this move, any move really, like musicians do this, martial artists, of course, boxers maybe a little less, but when you're doing like acrobatic, gymnasts, I'm sure if you were to freeze frame when they're in the middle of a move, a massive body contort of some type, you're always going to get these really funny, weird expressions and like these strenuous faces, just like, oh, just if you were to like slow-mo film people doing certain things, many things really, you would find that there are just hysterical facial expressions happening all the time. But they're just instantaneous, or your focus usually isn't probably on their face. It might be like in this case where his body and his legs are going, so you wouldn't be looking necessarily right at the face while these things are happening. But if you were to, you'd often find people making very funny faces. I remember when I was a kid, I had this violin teacher who, for the longest time, I didn't like, and it's because he was kind of a dick originally. He changed after a while. He got remarried to his ex-wife, and then that made him so much happier, and he was a totally different teacher. But during the time that I had him, for the majority of the time I had him as my teacher for about a decade, it was pretty rough. And one thing I noticed though, and he's a nice guy, don't get me wrong now, especially, his attitude really changed. But he would make the funniest. I would notice as a little kid, I'd be like, "Mom, look," and she'd be like, "Shh, don't say anything," But I noticed he'd be making the funniest expressions when he'd be playing sometimes, because and he was like a concert violinist, like phenomenal, like symphony orchestra violinist, like extra, just spectacular, talented man. Hired left and right all the time for orchestras and symphonies and private events and all this stuff. So he was just super accomplished. But it's just funny to observe. I remember this burned into my memory. His moments of playing the violin, he'd get so into the music, or just maneuvering his fingers and his wrist right to get the right motion and everything to get the sound he wanted out of the violin, that his face would be doing these unconscious, subconscious expressions, and it was always just funny to see, and I always thought about that, and so now I'm thinking at these photos and thinking about martial arts, and it's like we all make really ridiculous expressions during all kinds of different things, and it's just funny to think about. So anyway, so with this whole thing going on here, I'm excited to get this done. I said last stream I was going to try to do some off this stream and on my Twitch channel, but it's been such a busy week. As usual, I didn't get around to doing anything off this stream, so you guys are picking up where I last left off. And with that being said, I have some other reference photos here I've acquired of Mr. Reeves. I I've looked up some older shots because I wanted him to match, because I have this great scan. So this is what I've been working on, but I haven't been working on since last week. And this is the Cyberpunk model that someone ripped, and it's straight from the game. And in the game, they scanned Keanu like with photogrammetry and other tools, so that they really got his face. But this is how his face looks today, basically, or like whatever it was 2 or 3 years ago. But I'm sure some proportions have changed from then to, or from now to referencing him back here. So just have to keep that in mind. I mean, usually what changes are you'll get more weight in the cheeks, and you'll get more sagging a little bit underneath the eyes, and the neck, like myself. You'll get some more fullness in here if you put on a little weight, or you're not doing a lot of like rigorous exercise. Like the skin and muscles just get looser, and that's just like naturally everything just kind of bows to gravity. So that's what we're gonna see here a little bit. So I'm trying to probably push some of this just in and up a little bit. So this is like really low, actually. Although this will make sense for his pose, because in this very dynamic angle, he is definitely doing the double chin kind of thing. So there will be some compression of the tissues here. So we're gonna see some of that, but I may not keep that expression so harsh, just because it's something you only see in a fraction of a second, and you're not usually focused on it. And with the statue, you're going to be looking at his face. You're going to be looking at everything when it's printed. So I'd rather it not look funny, and people question whether that's actually what his face looks like in that moment. So I might ease this up a little bit, or maybe quite a bit, actually, so it doesn't look so comedic in a sense, because it doesn't need to be so so extreme. So anyway, so we're bringing this back up. And so, yeah, I'll just do this. So I'll often put one transparent, maybe even color it so I know which one I'm on. Just smooth this out a little bit. This topology is not, it's right there. It's not the best for this expression either. So that kind of helps that I'm easing that up a little bit. See, I almost feel like this expression here of him with his back against the pillar, it's cooler. It's not as like extreme as it's not as much of just a straight like like funny frown as the one he's got going on here. So I think I'm gonna stick with this one. I think it's a bit better. But still, there's that area it's more of like that area is more tucked in, I think, than it is like pulled down, and I had it like pulled down more. So I think that's something here that I've got to work on a little bit. It's like this would just be pushed. I think it's almost like a grimace a little bit more than it is or maybe a wince more than a grimace. I guess that's how you define the two, I guess. I mean, a grimace is more like and a wince is more like, so a wince is more like back, I guess. But the grimace and a wince are pretty close, I guess. I don't know. I'm just basically saying more in and back rather than back and down when it comes to like the mouth pull. Anyway, sorry, I'm missing chat. What are we saying here? You have good topology for the body. Subdividing it would pose an issue. Dynamation it would create more issues than working with what you got. Yeah. Stunning work. Thank you, sir. Cool stuff. Thank you. Reset brushes. Yeah, I got that. You have no idea how ripped my body looks, especially after I slip and fall in the shower and I'm doused in water, making those trembling muscle ripples even more. Nice. Am I on LinkedIn? I am the automotive designer that put the truck designs together for Optimus Prime and Galvatron together for the Transformers movie. Oh, wow. Awesome, dude. John, very cool. Yes, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me by searching my name, Daniel Enrique De León. I'm on there. Please connect. That'd be great. So I guess you were ILM for a while. John, do you know there's a good friend of mine who was at ILM, but sadly he was let go with a ton of other people. Glenn McIntosh, he's a good buddy of mine. Another acquaintance of ours, mutual acquaintance of ours between Glenn and I, is Martin Murphy. Another great guy, another great ILM artist. I got to know both of them because of my affinity for Jurassic Park dinosaurs for the first film especially, and Glenn he's connected me with other directors and producers for the Jurassic Park films to produce maquettes for them privately, which is really cool. And I've made a bunch of Raptor models that Glenn owns multiples of each for his private collection as well, which has been a real pleasure to make those for him. And he's commissioned me to do all that work for him because he knows like just my fanatical level of attention to detail when it came to the Jurassic Park Raptors. I was lucky to work with Matt Winston, the son of Stan Winston, for the Stan Winston School of Character Arts when they were first starting, when they hit the ground floor. And I helped them with their curriculum. And we worked with our first class that I worked with them on was Don Lanning's first class, which was cool. Don Lanning's an amazing sculptor. If anyone doesn't know who that name is, you should. But anyway, Matt and his crew were nice enough to just let me have a lot of the behind-the-scenes photos that a lot of them have been released. I think now most of them have, but there's still some I think I have that they haven't released publicly that were taken from his dad's studio, from Stan Winston, from in Stan Winston's studio of Jurassic Park's production, like the physical animatronics. So there's some that they released publicly that I used for reference for the Raptors that I made when they hadn't painted them yet, but they finished the sculpt. So you have all the proper wrinkles and little nubs and just all the scales and everything on the Raptors, and it really helped me get their dimensionality down and subtle details that were missing. And this one actually I think is a slightly older version of my model where I didn't refine it yet. So there's like the orbital socket's a little too concave, and I think the snout's a little too short. So this is like not perfect, but this is one of the first ones I printed on my Form 3. So I found an older version of my Raptor model to print on my Form 3 because the final version that I perfected, I can't find that file right now. And those are the ones I print on my MakerBot, and you can't convert those files to be G-code. I don't know how to take G-code and convert it to be. I don't think I even have the G-code files. I think it's just the MakerBot files. But anyway, long story short, I'm apologizing for something that only a super nerd like myself would know the subtle differences in. But I'm going to blow this up just to show you guys quick. This is one of my crowning achievements in 3D printing that has gotten me a lot of work and a lot of very positive recognition. But this is some of the Raptors, one of the Raptors that I made, neutral pose. So this is just the original Jurassic Park Raptor. Almost perfectly screen accurate. Like I said, snout's a little too short. Orbital socket's a little too concave. Maybe the back of the head's a little too big too. I need to sort of thin that out a little bit. But otherwise, everything else is like dead accurate to photos that I used that I actually did what I'm doing now with Neo, with Keanu. And so I traced every single line and every single scale, and proportions were like tediously like just sought after to get accurate. So this is as close as a screen accurate model you will ever get, and I'm proud to say I think it even blows away a lot of what you'll see from Prime 1 or from what Chronicle Collectibles was doing before they went under and stole some of my money because I can't get a refund on one of the Raptors I ordered from them that they never delivered, unfortunately. But anyway, so just to show you guys some of the work that I've been known for in the past. So yeah. So anyway, yeah, a bunch of friends at ILM, or former ILM guys. So I'm assuming that you probably knew a bunch of them, John. Great guys. I remember meeting John Goodman over there. Is it John Goodman or John? Not John Goodman. John, was it Goodman or? Man, I can't think of his name right now. I'm brain farting. But he's like, what's his name? I wasn't John Goodman, but it's the actor. But it's you'll know who I'm talking about. But he was a legend over at ILM as well, which is terrible. I feel bad that I can't remember his name now. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, let me shrink this back down. Anyway, Daniel, where did you say you can find the head scan for Keanu? It's online. If you just search for it, you'll find it. I think I found it on DeviantArt. I think is where I found it. Someone ripped the model there. So it's, like I said, it's a scan of him that's then been triangulated. Sorry, so let me back out of this so you can see the heads again. So this is the scan. I mean, it's a scan that's been triangulated and low poly. So what if you find it and you download it, you're gonna get this. So it's all triangulated because that's what game engines do. They always triangulate those meshes. But yeah, this is as accurate as a Keanu model I think that anyone could have available online. That we all, if you bought the game, you have this model on your computer. You just aren't able to access it like this necessarily. But yeah, I think you can find it on DeviantArt. Someone ripped it. and so I'm using that as great reference to get the facial expression, or the facial volume, I should say, accurate. Pamela's back. Hello again. Awesome, Garrett. Yeah, Garrett, that's so cool. I love the Transformers, first Transformers in particular. I enjoyed it. Even though the story was like, meh, the work is incredible though. Always, like, that's the thing I always feel bad about as a CG artist, when people, including myself, even say that a movie's terrible, because it's like, usually when they say the movie's terrible, it's typically, most of the time, it's the writing. It's the writing and directing that's bad. The work, usually the visual effects, is almost always stellar at this point. Like, it's rare. Sometimes, of course, there are movies that are just rushed, or they have something goes wrong and they don't have enough time to bake everything out properly, and so then the compositing looks off, or the animation doesn't have the right weight, or the it's usually lighting. It's like lighting and motion that are the two biggest things in the end, and that's in the final render, right? Sometimes it's comping. Sometimes maybe the animation looks great and the lighting is decent, but the comp is just off, and then it still looks like it's popping off. It still looks like it's not set in that environment. If they don't do an HDRI map, if they don't get a nice, like, HDRI ball, like a chrome ball light map of that whole environment, or a LiDAR scan or something. If they don't get that, then that's where it's like, good luck. Like, and that's what's amazing to me. They didn't have that for Jurassic Park, the first one, and yet it looks so phenomenal. And that's just where it's just true artistry, where you're coming in and looking at something and matching lighting. You're doing like Photoshop. It's like kind of like frame by frame, sort of, in a sense, like Photoshop level attention to detail. I mean, when you're copying something in that's a great animation, that has decent lighting that matches the environment, you still have got to look at those lines of point of contact, the contact shadows, and bits of debris, and areas that things that they just did. It's not perfect at all, but it's damn good. Like, it still looks. Many shots, in my opinion, of the original Jurassic Park look better than a lot of shots in the more recent Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I mean, granted, there's a lot of good shots in them too, of course, and all the work, all the CG dinos and all of that, it's just a phenomenal, excellent work. But there's just something about, like, there's this purity to a lot of the work that went into the first Jurassic Park that just looks phenomenal. It's held up so well, and that's simply just coming down to I think it's just good artistry. It's just classic observation and replication of what you see or what should match, and that's something that it just requires a good eye, a sharp eye, and a strong attention to detail. And that's really what it comes down to. But yeah, so anyway, like, all the work that went into the Transformers movies, man, this Transformers looked amazing, absolutely amazing. John Goodman, yeah, I think it's John Goodson. Is it Goodson? I think, I don't know. I forget. It's terrible. But it's a really close name. It's John Good something. I think it's Goodson, maybe. That's what it is. Can you convert G code back to STL? You can convert G code back to STL. It is possible, if that's what you've heard. Yeah, I'm wondering about that, Dougie. If you can, let me know where I can do that, or how I can reverse engineer that, because that would be awesome. If I could get basically G code back into, like an STL, and OBJ, anything else, like any other normal format that I can import back into a software like ZBrush, that'd be great. You remember when I showed off the Raptor Designer-Con? It was amazing. Oh, thanks, dude. My lecture. Oh, wow. Wait, lecture at Designer-Con? Did I give a lecture? Are you thinking of, like, when I spoke at Nomen? So I've spoken at Nomen. Jurassic Fart. Cool, amazing. Bro GS Gaming, what's up, sir? Or ma'am, I don't know. Ladies can be bros too, I guess. That sounds funny. Anyway. So it's just trying to get here and getting his nose a bit more accurate. And there's another software that I've used on and off, which is great for doing exactly what I'm trying to do here, which is ZWrap. And it can take one model with good topology and another model with totally different topology and, like, shrink wrap them to match. And I could use that here, except I don't think I have it on this machine. I think I have my portable one, which is actually the one Cintiq I'm working on right now, actually. But it's jacked into this PC, so it can't use that. And also, I think I just want to show you guys how to do this without using extra software that sort of helps you cheat. Oh, also, I don't want to change this whole expression to be completely neutral again. So I kind of want to keep some of where I was going and just tweak it. So anyway, but yeah, there is ZWrap out there if you guys need to do something for production. I actually used that for the trailers, or the trailer, the commercial spot you're gonna see today in the Super Bowl. I actually used that a lot to help me with because we had the scan data from another studio, from Legacy. I think actually they got us some great scan data from Sam Jackson, but it's it was scan data, so it was like terrible geometry, you know what I mean, just like not at all usable for animation. So I use that as a great basis, but then I had to add in a bunch of extra details and smooth things out here, change some things there, you know. So it's like you start with a good base, but then you still got to go in and do a lot of the other detail work and subtleties, you know. But it's definitely, whenever you have a base mesh to look at or start from, or even just a good scan, that's usually what happens in production a lot of times. But then there's also times where you have to make a likeness and you don't have a scan, and that's that's always fun. That's always a challenge. It's always it's work. That's what it is. It's good hard work. Honest labor. But yeah, Keanu's a man, dude. Freaking love this guy. He's a badass, man. I mean, you guys seen his Terran Tactical videos? Have you guys seen his work with Terran Tactical? If you haven't, look up the YouTube for Terran Tactical Keanu and see his runs, man. His gun runs. Holy shit, dude. Oh my god. It's amazing. His skills, man. Like quad loading a shotgun, and dude, he did all this stuff for John Wick, and I mean for the series of films. Incredible, man. The guy's a consummate professional who's definitely put in his work at the range to be lethal. truly lethal. I would never want to be in a gunfight with Keanu Reeves. He is like embodying the living John Wick, because he's not firing fake rounds. Terran Tactical is a real tactical training facility. You are firing live rounds. You are shooting real bullets, real slugs. So it's not like learning how to play shoot, or, you know, or like Hollywood style, like fake gun. Like, this is all super deadly real. So yeah, if you haven't seen his videos, man, holy shit, look them up. They're incredible. His work with the guns is something to aspire to. What Tom Cruise does with stunts, Keanu has done with guns. I'll put it that way. And I love Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible films. Those are always fun, especially the last two. I got to meet Christopher McQuarrie, the director of the last two Mission Impossibles, at the screening of Mission Impossible Fallout IMAX 3D, because they didn't release it in IMAX 3D here in the States. They only released it in IMAX 3D elsewhere in the world. So Christopher was nice enough to come by IMAX headquarters here in LA, and I was lucky enough to get an invitation to be there, along with some other, you know, random people. Collider put together this whole thing. It was awesome. And so I got to get picked. They just said, send a letter for why we should invite you, and blah blah blah. And I told them I'm an aspiring filmmaker, and I really respect and admire the work that Chris has done, and, you know, I really would love just to pick his brain. So they invited me, and that was awesome. So I got to go and chat with him and talk with him one-on-one after like they cleared out the theater. But yeah, I mean, Christopher McQuarrie is another just legend in Hollywood, in my opinion, and one who's not. I say that too because he's got balls, dude. Like, he's not afraid to say what he thinks, and it's not always PC. And it's not that he's trying to offend anybody or that he's super not PC. I just mean it just takes some guts today to not even be afraid, just to be like, he said in this interview. I don't know if it's ever put online. I know it was recorded, but I didn't record it. But he was like, meh, they can revoke my what did he say? They can revoke my membership for the Academy. He's like, I don't care. But he was just saying how it's Hollywood's just, it's kind of disgusting how lopsided Hollywood is now, and how they're very much like against anyone who doesn't have the same exact political views on everything. And and that's not to say that he was like pro-Trump or pro, ultra-conservative or anything like that, but it just meant that he at least was a free thinker to say, like, you can't condemn a whole group of people, like half of the population of the country, to be something that they're not. And it doesn't mean that if you don't align with the far left that you're, like, that you're racist or something. You know what I mean? Like, he was just putting it out there very clear, like very rational, very sane. And I just respected that a lot, because like the dude was like, he's a consummate professional as well. Like, he's there to do a job. He's not there to preach or indoctrinate people or tell you what to think. He's there to entertain and create great art. And I love that he took a very anti-political platform stance and just said, like, dude, we're here to do this. We're not here to tell you how to think. We're here to entertain you and create great art. And I just thought that was great. It was awesome. He's very clear in that he's not really in the camp of groupthink that like 98% of Hollywood elites are. And that's cool, because I think majority of America, or at least a huge percentage of America, is not in that same camp either. I think a lot of people can think for themselves and won't necessarily just try to be like High School Extended, where everyone just tries to be part of the cool crowd so that people they like them, like, which is what a lot of people do. So anyway, I digress. Christopher McQuarrie is a badass. I love him. And his work, and Tom Cruise's work is in the Mission Impossible films, are just great. I mean, Tom Cruise he's got a lot of great films behind his name, man. I mean, I know people love to make fun of him and his height and his Scientology wackadoodle, whatever that is. But aside from that, he's his acting for his characters, it's fun. I mean, it's great. I just watched Far and Away again the other day, and I haven't seen it in decades. And man, it's a good film. It's a fun, exciting, touching film of coming to America. An immigrant story from Europe, from Britain, I guess, the UK, Ireland. It was great. It's a great film. I was like, completely forgot about it. So anyway, oops. So I'm going to solo this out. We'll do a little of this. So I matched up his ears and his mouth and other parts of his face with the scan. So that should obviously match up with this shot as well, but we got to turn on perspective, and I think 35 millimeter might be good enough. This is either a 35 or 50. Well, actually, it could even be higher too. I mean, who knows? I don't know exactly what lens I used, but I'm guessing. I'm doing a guesstimation here. Wonder. Let's go to 50. So I'm just changing focal length. That's like a camera lens. So I'm just trying to guess what lens they were using. Could even be a longer lens. So longer the lens, the longer the millimeter, the more compressed a face will be. So in other words, I'll show you guys here. So it's basic camera knowledge. So when you don't have perspective on, you're in orthogonal view, right? So you have perfectly straight lines, no perspective, no diminishing horizon line. Excuse me, not diminishing horizon line, but diminishing toward the horizon. But turn on perspective, and now things will have a more, correct aspect ratio. So at 50, we go from orthogonal to 50. You got some curvature there, right? If we go down to 30, so let's say go up to 150 millimeter lens, a long lens. Boom, very compressed. So from here to orthogonal, very little change, right? But now if we go down to, let's say an 18 millimeter lens, mega fisheye basically, or pretty close to fisheye. Now we go turn on perspective, much more curvature here. So again, this is 18 millimeter, none, orthogonal. 18, none. So you can see the difference there. You start to warp the face more, you get more of that fisheye kind of fishbowl look. If we bring this down to 0, getting a lot more. If we zoom in here just a little bit, You get a lot more bulge. So nothing in the world, we have two eyes, right? So we're never going to see anything really orthogonally, right? You're always going to see things with perspective, curvature. Um, so people have always said like 35 is a nice one because I think that's closest to how the human eye sees, between that and 50. So that's where I'm guessing that they probably used either a 35 or a 50, but they could be longer. It could be a longer lens. Not really sure. It could be longer because also the debris and everything flying here when they had those squibs going off and all the explosions of the rubble and whatnot. So yeah, so it's a guesstimation, but it helps to at least know that camera settings are available in ZBrush now that are accurate to real world cameras. And so big landmarks, great landmarks that are helpful, of course, are... See, he's also bringing up his nose, though, so he's compressing his nose because he is doing this. He's really scrunching it, so I've got to flare up the nose and nostrils a bit because I've matched them to his neutral pose where everything's down and relaxed. But this is definitely a more constricted facial expression. So I should probably avoid actually trying to match the nose and just go with the mouth and ears in general. And I mean, that feels about okay for now. I mean, we're still going the right direction. So yeah, so I'm gonna keep working on this. Just 1 second. I know I'm missing a bunch of chat. Sorry. I gave a short presentation for 3D printing at Designer Con. The company that offers the training was doing the VR demo for your Raptor as well. Of your Raptor as well. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, you were thinking of was it Designer Con or was it Monster Palooza? Maybe it was Designer Con, but yeah, I think I was with Medium, right? I was with Formlabs and with Medium, and they were working. I don't think I had my Raptor in VR though. Did I? I don't remember so because I thought it was Geo, Neckpin or Knockpin. I think I forget his last name. Sorry, I know people joke around calling him Napkin. I don't want to say that, but it's like it almost reads like Napkin. But Geo had he was the one who was the artist who was featured in Medium, and he was doing some really great work with his Crocosaurus. So he made like a T-Rex mixed with a croc kind of dinosaur. But I had my Raptor in the background there too. I had my Raptor there, and I had my Trico model, which is right there behind me. You can see it right here. Anyway, but yeah. So I guess that's where that's where you're thinking of. The 3 gun training super. Oh yeah, yeah. It took 8 months working with Michael Bay to create the trucks. Dang, John. Wow. I've heard Michael. I've met multiple people who've worked with and know Michael Bay or have known him in passing. And everybody says that he's a slave driver when it comes to artistry. He can yell. I mean, I only hear the extreme stuff. I mean, John, have you had any experience with him where it's more calm, normal, just like, I like that, I don't like this, good job? Is he complimentary or is he like very aggressive and just negative? Because I only hear the negative side of things, but I'm assuming he can't be like on insano angry mode all the time, just like James Cameron's known for being explosive, but they can't treat everybody like shit all the time because I mean, not everyone would tolerate that. I'm assuming he's a pretty cool guy at times as well. I mean, a lot of what he gets out of his artists and what we see in his films are great. I mean, I love a lot of Michael Bay's work prior to the Transformers movies, as far as the story and directing goes. I love all the Bad Boys movies, especially the last two. 2 and 3 are great. 2 is my favorite. The Island, I love The Island. That's such a great movie. I don't care what anybody says. What else? I mean, The Rock, Armageddon, classics, cheesy as hell, ridiculous but fun, great blockbuster movies. Anyway, yeah. 13 Hours. Phenomenal true story of what happened in Benghazi, starring John Krasinski. Go watch it. If you guys haven't seen 13 Hours, watch it. So good. True story, too. Like, powerful. Like, wow. Anyway, so yeah, I like Michael Bay's stuff overall. Oh, yeah, and Six Underground. That's fun. It was ridiculous, too, but fun. Really fun Netflix action adventure mystery, like kind of shoot 'em up. If I get triangulated scan, I just retop of the scan and add in the skin details, paints, that stuff. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could totally do that. Exactly. I mean, if the scan is fully good, there's a lot of scans that come in kind of crappy. So that's the other thing. There's a lot of scans I've gotten where, you know, you have to take another mesh, basically. Like, using ZWrap is better than trying to retopo it, I would say. It's faster, a lot faster. Because if you have a mesh that's already great topology, and then you just use that to conform it to the shape of something else, you're going to get way better, faster, good, clean topology if you already have a human mesh that you can use already. Sorry, I'll get back to this one sec. I just want to finish up chat. I wish Hollywood was neutral with political shit. Focus on making good... Exactly. But it's the opposite. They make a lot of shitty movies, and way too much politics is injected into all of Hollywood. It's retarded. It's horrible. The movie landed in our laps at the Dallo trucks here in Oregon. I was quite lucky to have worked on the design and 3D models. That's so cool, dude. Anatole D, hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing? Lemon Cat 3D. Is it just me, or is the color theme in the Matrix very much over in the green, end of the spectrum? So many screens have green feel to them. Yeah, that's always the thing. The Matrix is always green hued, and the real world is always blue hued. They always did that in the color grading. God Presenting was doing a demo on how you can build a Raptor similar to yours. Okay, cool. Real-time sculpting. Yeah. That was medium. Yeah. Love to draw. Anyone here but me? I love to draw. A lot of people are here. We got 87 people in the viewership right now. Anyway, all right, so back to this. So let's get back to his view here. Let's just gonna take a peek at that, because I really think I want to do this. This expression really is what I want to put on that body of his, that pose of his. Just gonna zoom in a little bit more here. So the mouth is kind of more open. The lips are a little like pursed back a bit, and definitely have like scrunching up of the nose. So there's compression in here. Nose is coming up and flaring, nostrils coming out. So there's a bit of this in here, nasolabial fold happening, and definitely compression in the neck. He's doing definitely the same kind of thing. So it's a pretty good transpose for the head and expression. If you look closely here, you can see this nostril. Oops, bump the keys. This nostril is flared a little bit lower than this one. This one's up a bit higher. So when you just first glance at it, you don't think about it, but when you look here closely, you'll see that there's definitely a stronger asymmetry happening here than you first might imagine. But I think I don't know. The nose here, it's a little crooked too. It's not actually like perfectly straight. I think it does go to a little bit to the side. Because if we look at the scan, yeah, see here, this is from, like I said, this is from Cyberpunk. I scanned him only, whatever it was, 2 or 3 years ago, maybe. So yeah, see top down here, you can easily see nose is actually slightly crooked, right? Slightly not, it's not straight down, it's kind of curved a little bit to his left, our right. So little things like that to notice. That's what makes a distinct face, right? Those little asymmetries, little idiosyncrasies, little things like that are things that a lot of younger artists will not think to look for or notice or think to put into their characters if they're making one. But asymmetry is huge, really, when it comes to matching something in real life, because 99% of the human population has very asymmetrical faces that you just don't realize until try doing this. Like, take a picture of yourself and then bring it in Photoshop and flip it. So just use your smartphone, take a selfie from a distance. Try to use the outside camera, not the front-facing camera, because it's crappier quality and it's more fisheyed. Try to do your arm's length, or use a selfie stick, or even have a friend take a picture of you with the outward-facing, the better cameras on your phone. Take a picture of your face, bring it into Photoshop, and then cut it in half. So, like, duplicate it, cut off half, and then flip it. Right? Or just take the whole thing and flip it and then change opacity, and you'll see the asymmetry in your face. It's stronger than you think. But we get so used to seeing our own faces, and you get so used to seeing other people's faces that you don't really notice those subtle things. Like, I think a lot of people probably never knew or never noticed that Keanu has a slightly skewed nose, because you're not really looking for it usually, and it's not extreme. It's really not extreme at all. Like, I know all of us have asymmetries. I'm not really sure exactly of all of mine, but I can tell when a photo of mine's been flipped. Like, if I see my face and it's the wrong way, I'm like, something's off. I can tell. And it's happened a couple times, especially when you take your front-facing camera. I think sometimes it can flip things, and it looks a little weird. So anyway, He's broken nose is a sign he's taking blows to the head. Who says it's broken? John Garrett, 8 months. Just don't put sunflower seeds in his lunch pail. He has something against lunch. He has something against the sunflower seeds. Pretty cool headed. The scan looks kind of like NF. What's NF? Sean in 3D. The scan kind of looks like NF. Who or what is NF? NF is a rapper. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't listen to rap, so I have no idea who rappers are except for the super popular ones. And even my knowledge is old school. I guess they'll know Snoop Dogg. What was it? Outkast was sort of not really rap, but sort of rap. 50 Cent, Pitbull, Lil Wayne. What was that? Little Pimp? Didn't he get like Lil Pimp? He got some traction. I know there's a few others I know that are in the back of my brain, but I just don't listen to rap. I don't like most rap, so I have no knowledge of current names, and I'm an old man, dude. I'm like, who's that? Who is the little? What was it? Because everyone's making fun of Trump because what did he say? Little Pimp was little, or was it Little Pump? It's not Little Pimp. Is it Little Pump? I can't remember. There's so many different rapper names. I don't know. Was it Little Pimp or Little Pump or Little? I can't remember. So many little somethings. What's up with that anyway? What's up with Lil? LIL apostrophe whatever. What's up with that trend? Why is that why is that a thing? I've never understood that subculture as far as like what's up with the nomenclature. What's up with the naming convention of little whoever? Is that when they start really young or something? Is there like an age bracket where once you're under a certain age you call yourself little something? I don't know. Michael Bayes from Art Center. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. I'd like NF. He's on another level, really? Okay. I think I broke my nose several times after taking blows to my head. That's why you need your guard up at all times. Yeah, absolutely. You know how to get in touch with Morpheus. Right? I wish. I'd love to meet the cast of The Matrix. That'd be awesome. I love them all. I think they're all great. I got to meet Joe Pantoliano. In of all places, Manhattan, Central Park. So, Pam, if you're still here, Pamela, I'm in your great city. I was there for a informative interview with Juice Pharma. It's a pharmaceutical advertising company in Manhattan. And I had a great little interview because I wound up just networking with somebody at a jury selection. So I got called in to be potential juror for Philadelphia. And so I drove in there and met this really nice woman, and we hit it off, and we were just talking and kind of flirting. And then she recommended me to come up with some of her contacts at Juice Pharma. And then after that informative interview, I was dressed in a nice suit and just kind of, pretty presentable, just to be respectful. And I was young too. I was like 20 or 21, I think. I was just out of college. And I dropped out. So just so you're like, well, you graduated early? No. And so I walked past him. He was Joe was sitting on a bench, and it's a story time with Daniel again. I'm just moving stuff around here with the move brush in case anyone's wondering, to match the scan. So Joe Pantoliano was sitting there on this bench, and he had this white dog named Bogey, but I didn't learn this until after. So this white dog, and I heard his voice. He was on the phone, kind of like, he's sitting down at the bench with his hands or his elbows on his knees, and he's on the phone, kind of looking down at the ground, trying to be incognito, his typical cap on, and his white dog was just sitting there. And I was walking past eating this hot dog I just picked up from a vendor because I was starving, and I was like, I don't care if it's shit food. And I was walking up to him, and as I heard the voice, and I kind of saw him from upward angle, I was like, is that him? Like, maybe. And so then I was like, I just made an excuse to pet the dog because the dog was really cute, and it was big. It was like a poodle mix. And so I sat there, and maybe it was poodle mix. It was a big white dog. Anyway, I was petting him. And then I kind of used that as an excuse to kind of sneak a peek at who's this dog, is this really? And I was just petting him. I was like, I just whispered, is he friendly? And then I saw Joe look up, and he was like, yeah, he's friendly. He's like, it's okay. I was like, it's okay? And he's like, yeah. And so then everybody, I didn't want to interrupt his call. And I was like, oh my God, it's Joe Pantoliano. Yes. So I made a bet with myself because I was so nervous and I didn't want to interrupt his phone call. So I just finished petting the dog after a slightly, probably longer than comfortable amount of time. Maybe like, I don't know, it was like 15 seconds or 30 seconds. I got up and then just sort of gave a peace sign and walked off. And I walk to the top of the stairs, and I'm just like, dude, I will kick myself if I don't try to have a conversation with Joe Pantoliano. I freaking love his movies. I love his characters. And he just seems like a cool guy. I'm like, I want to go and talk to him. I was like, all right, fuck it. Like, if he's still there by the time, because I waited like a good, like, 3 or 4 minutes, like, debating with myself, like, should I, shouldn't I, what should I do? Like, this is kind of like a once in a lifetime sort of happenstance, meeting. I was like, F it. All right, time to go back. So I walked back, and I just said, if he's on the phone, I'll just walk past or just turn direction and won't bother him. If he's off the phone, I'm gonna try to talk to him. So I did, and I walked back, and he was like, I was just like, hey, are you Joe Pantoliano? He's like, yeah, man. I was like, hey, I'm Daniel. I'm actually, I'm working on some entertainment projects right now myself. I'm here for an interview, but I was just wondering, do you mind if I join you for a minute? And he's like, yeah, sure, come on, sit down. And then we talked for like 45 minutes about different personal projects we were working on. Obviously, he's working on some much bigger stuff than I was at the time, but he worked on it's really weird, like animated, not weird, but weird in that it was unique for the time. It was these funny shorts, like hand-drawn shorts, or like flash drawn, I should say. That had that kind of style to it. Stories of him and his life and funny quirks. And one of them was about him dating his first, I think, bringing his first date home to meet his mom. And so they're like stories of little Joe, basically. And then he also told me about this new foundation he was starting. It's not new now, but then it was new. It hadn't come out yet. It was called No Kidding Me Too. And it was all about mental health. And he went on to talk about how, he had thoughts of suicide and thought he was depressed and didn't know why he was being suicidal when he had a great life and a beautiful wife and a lot of money, great career, all these things. And he's like, why am I feeling suicidal? Am I depressed? And so he went on to talk about how that led him to seeing a psychologist and then a psychiatrist, and they did all these tests, and they figured out, no, you're clinically depressed. You have a slight imbalance in your neurotransmitters. You need some meds to help balance you out. And then he wanted to, so basically the foundation he founded is about removing the stigma of mental illness and helping people bridge those gaps, find help, find connection, find community, and get over the stigma that society has surrounding mental health. Which I thought was great. That's awesome. Like, we need more people to be more compassionate and aware of those things, more empathetic, and also encouraging others to seek help if they feel like there is a struggle they're having, if it's whatever kind of issue they're having, if it's a mental one. We should be encouraging people to find and seek help rather than making them feel ostracized or condemned or mocked or any of that. Of course, it's just logical. It's just any decent human being thinks that. So anyway, so it was just really cool just to hear him talk about his foundation that he was starting, organization, however you want to phrase it, and seen some of his personal projects. And he was trying to get hooked up, so he could connect me with his. He dialed his assistant, and his assistant was like, "Oh, hello, Mr. De León." He thought I was an executive. He was like, "I'm here with this nice executive here in the park, and I'm trying to show him something." But and it's funny because he just assumed I was an executive because of the way I was dressed and was carrying a briefcase and how I was conducting myself. But anyway, he was a cool guy. He was a really sweet, cool, friendly guy, and I showed him some of the stuff I was working on, and he thought, yeah, it's pretty good. It's interesting. I like it. Maybe he didn't like it. He was just being courteous, but either way, I showed him some of the work I was doing actually for the book I was writing and ideas I have for it, and because we were talking about all kinds of different personal creative projects, and I told him I was here for it, but then I was like, my real passion, my real interest is this, and so So anyway, it was pretty cool. Like, he's just a really cool, down to earth dude. And he joked about how he didn't understand. He's like, dude, I'm still trying to figure out how. What did he say? It's like, I'm still trying to figure out the all the meanings, or how did he phrase it? He said, I'm still trying to figure out the meanings behind the Matrix and Memento, man. He's like, so this is some of what you're talking about is beyond me. It's because I was talking about some deep levels of the story I was writing. Not too deep, but I mean just enough where it was like, talking about layered storytelling and just different elements that would be complex layering to have depth in your, in the story frame and in the framework of the story. And anyway, so he was just going on talking about I think it's because I asked him, like, why aren't you writing and directing some of your own films or whatever. And I think something in that department is what led to him eventually saying, like, man, I'm still trying to figure out the meaning of the Matrix and Memento. But man, I love Memento too. He's such a great villainous character in that. It's not really villainous, maybe like more malicious, or what's the word? I don't know. How would you define his character in how would you define John G in or a John G in Memento? I mean, malicious, yeah, I guess, right? Devious, weird, like he's if you've ever watched a special edition of Memento, the Blu-ray, the DVD version, there's a code you can put in these multiple choice like psychology questions in the beginning of the menu, and it will let you watch the movie in chronological order. So it places all the scenes in the correct order, and it gives you a completely different perspective on all the events that happen in that story. And it really makes it more clear, like abundantly clear, like just how much of a jerk his character is in that story to Guy Pearce's character, and also it just shows you just how horrible, and how manipulative Carrie Ann Moss's character is, and it's just an interesting mixture. It's like it gives you a whole other perspective on the story, and it makes it a bit more tragic, I think, too, for Guy Pearce's character, whose name I can't think of right now, because I remember he would always be talking about remember Sammy Jenkins. But what was his character's name right now? I can't even. Leonard. Right, Leonard, yeah, because I remember you always have that clip of Joe Pantoliano coming in the door and being like, Lenny! And then Guy Pearce's character Leonard gets annoyed and it's like, it's Leonard. And yeah, that's his name. Man, I haven't seen that movie in a while either. I have to watch that again. But man, what a great movie too. Has anyone seen Memento? Do you guys see Memento? There's a lot of great acting in that movie, man. Like, talk about character studies. It's just Christopher Nolan that just nailed it. Very intelligent storytelling, very unique. Christopher Nolan loves to play with time. That's the thing that's very clear. He's a big fan of playing with concepts of time, very heady stuff. Him and his brother, especially, honestly. Jonah Nolan was the one who wrote like this short story that became Memento. And then Chris asked him if he could direct it, if he could make a film out of it. And that's what I think really kicked off their major film collaborations. So a lot of the films that Christopher Nolan has done, most of them are actually, Jonah, his brother, Jonathan Nolan, who's now really popular for a lot of different things. I think Jonah was doing A Person of Interest, Jonathan Nolan, and that TV show, and also he's doing Westworld with his wife. And I was lucky to work on Westworld a little bit too. I was really happy to work on that. Because I'm a huge Michael Crichton fan, and I loved the first season, so I worked on the second season, which a lot of people say wasn't as good as the first, but maybe because I'm biased, I still enjoyed it. I agree, it dragged a little bit. It took a while to get to the episode I worked on, which is the samurai fight, dismemberment. They knew I had an anatomy background, so like, Daniel, you're doing some dismemberment. It's like, yes, awesome. And that has another one of my favorite actors in that scene, actually. He's the one who lops off the arm of the hand and the arm that I made for that guy. Japanese actor, I can't think of his name right now. It's terrible. It's escaping me. But he's a great actor, too. He's in he's in a bunch of movies, man. But I remember a role that really impressed me that he did was he played Kaneda in Danny Boyle's film Sunshine. Granted, I would say it's probably not the best name. Like, it's a kind of cheesy, happy name, Sunshine. It probably should have been called just like Sunburn or Sunburnout, or I don't know, Diffusion or Sun Nuclear. I don't know what else you'd call it, but Sunlight even would have just been cooler than Sunshine, I guess. So Sunshine just sounds so cheesy and friendly, but it's such a great movie, I think. I mean, the theory of it is probably pretty shaky. The physics of it, of like, could you restart a dying star with like an incredible, powerful nuclear explosion? I mean, I guess the theory is maybe, but not likely. But that's what they're trying to do in the story is reignite the sun, because it's burning out, it's dying, and that means obviously everyone on Earth will die if the sun burns out. And so Kaneda, played by the wonderful Japanese actor who I can't think of his name right now, was in Westworld, and is a badass samurai who assists our heroic characters, including the lovely Tandy Newton, and a bunch of other actors whose names I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So Jonathan Nolan, his work is awesome, and he's been carrying the torch of Christopher Nolan. Yeah, helping Christopher Nolan, carrying the torch of Michael Crichton, as far as working on Westworld and reviving that. Because Westworld, for those who don't know, was the first and only movie that Michael Crichton, the famous author of Jurassic Park, Congo, Sphere, etc., Rising Sun, it's the only film that Michael Crichton wrote and directed. It was back in the 70s, and utilized some technology that people didn't realize was really hard to do back then, and then a year or two later became like a staple everywhere, which was thermal vision, right? The robots in the evil robot that's kind of, it's basically like, it feels like James Cameron ripped off Westworld and made Terminator out of that, and just did a better job with the framework than Crichton, or at least than the film of Westworld did. I mean, or I should say the film, but the film Westworld versus that which is Terminator. But anyway, so there's this thermal vision scene, multiple scenes, multiple shots that are in thermal vision. So it's like hues of red to yellow, like to white, I think is kind of the gradation. And it was so expensive to do that. Like Crichton though was like myself and other people like had to, because he came from medicine, he was very genuinely interested in real sciences and how to apply them to visual effects and how to apply them into his storytelling. So, excuse me, I think he contacted people at JPL and some other places to figure out how to utilize thermal vision. There's only a few cameras in the country at the time that could actually visualize the type of thermal vision he wanted to. This is before like Flare and all those other camera companies even really existed, I think, or at least before their products were, ready, available for almost anyone to buy. So, so he contacted guys at JPL, and they were like, "Yeah, we could do this, but it's going to take a lot of time to." I think it was huge. There's all kinds of problems like for how to film with it, and it would also be like insanely prohibitively expensive. So we found some guy, I think it was here in LA, if I remember correctly. His story of this is in his book Travels. If you've ever read his book Travels, it's a great book. You should read it. It's a true story of his life and journeys, his travels, obviously. But he goes on to talk about how they wound up finding this guy who just worked his ass off to make all those shots for the film in a much cheaper way, but looked exactly the same as the thermal cameras that he wanted to use to give it that Predator, Terminator kind of look. But this is before those films ever came out. So Crichton was really ahead of the curve in a lot of ways. Like just brilliant. Just like, how can we use, real technology, real science, and bring it into the story, into the film, to show people things that they haven't seen before. And so for that, I really, I just really respected the work he did on Westworld, even though I think the series, in many respects, have obviously trumped it. Really, if you see the first season of Westworld, that's pretty close to the whole movie of the first one. Josh Brolin, or is it James Brolin? I think it's James Brolin. Yeah, James Brolin. James Brolin is the father of Josh Brolin, is in it. But unfortunately, I'm like, why didn't they make him the leading man? They make this other actor, no offense to him, but I don't know if he's even still with us. But they made the actor who really doesn't seem like the leading man at all be the leading man, the hero for the movie. And I'm like, dude, that was a misfire. They should have chosen James Brolin to be the hero. He's just so much more iconic, masculine, and he bites it in the movie. Sorry to spoil it for you. But there's a moment where he just doesn't make it. And it's like, dude, you guys killed off the wrong character, man. You guys should have made James Brolin the main actor. Father of Thanos. Anyway, what am I missing here? Anything else? Mental health issues suck. Yes, they do. Struggle for years. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Deceptive. John G. Memento, great movie. Yeah. Little brain fuck. Yeah, it is. Stories are awesome. Yes, they are. Urban Dino Study is film for a game project I'm working on. Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. Definitely watch Westworld and take your time and join it. But you'll see, like, when you look at the dates and when that film came out, and then when Terminator came out, and then when Predator came out, they all came out after. They all came out after Westworld. And so I find it hard to believe that... And then Westworld was turned into a TV series after that, actually, for a while. So that whole notion of robots run amok and theme parks, I mean, like, clearly Michael Crichton has this like love affair with theme parks and things going awry, because Westworld is like, and people have talked about this too, as Westworld being connected now to, I'm not sure if I'm the only one who's talking about it, I'm sure someone else has, but it'd be so cool if Westworld and Jurassic World were in the same universe. So you could actually have interactions then between those characters and robots and dinosaurs, and I don't know, man. I mean, that'd be freaking awesome. I really don't think that, unfortunately, that Colin and Derek, who are the guys who are directing and writing the last couple Jurassic World movies. I don't think that they would have thought to put those things together, but that would have been awesome if they would. I'm sort of like tempted just to do some, I don't know, some funky shorts or something. As I'm learning more and more in Unreal, I'm really tempted just to do like multiple short film projects in it. And maybe I'll do something like that with Jurassic World and Westworld connected in some cool, exciting short little featurette of how there could be an interaction between those worlds, those characters, those parks. It's just the more I learn Unreal and the more power we have now with it, and how easy it just feels it's much easier and much more just immediate. You know, the results you get out of it compared to like trying to render things with a Maya or in Arnold and I mean, I know that there's some real time rendering things solutions now with, I think you had Redshift for a while, and V-Ray has V-Ray Next now, I guess. So there are options to doing that in Maya, but I guess I've just found it more accessible and more utility, I guess, more usefulness to learning Unreal now, with just the popularity of it, having people saying they want me to learn Unreal so that they can hire me for different projects. It's the new hotness, right? So it's like, just jump on it, learn it. So that's what I'm doing slower than I'd like, but it's okay. I'm still learning it, and that's the thing you guys learn, guys. Is like, you got to stay employable. You want to stay employable. You want to stay ahead of the curve. It's like, see what's coming down the road and start learning that software, or start learning that skill set, whatever, because that'll just keep you guys employed longer. It'll keep your options more open and diverse, and allow you to jump to another area of expertise or profession or studio or whatever if you need to. With these uncertain times, can't hurt to give yourself some job insurance. You know what I mean, by learning some other skill sets that would really help you stay ahead of the curve. Stay ahead of the crowd, ahead of the pack. So yeah, just some advice. And we're just about at time, so I'm gonna have to get going here because I have a friend coming over and we're gonna go grab some food. I'm not sure we're gonna sit outside yet. It's still kind of chilly-ish. But restaurants are starting to open up again with outdoor seating, and it'd be nice to be semi-social and feel like normal human beings for a bit. But I'm envious of people in Florida and people elsewhere that are opening up their cities and letting people get back to work. I think it can't be overstated just how important it is for us to get back to work. I think a lot of people need to. I'm all for protecting those who are vulnerable. I'm not a COVID denier or anything. I had it. Some friends of mine had it. It sucked. But it's also, I think, something that I've met people who are high risk, and they say that they don't want society to be shut down like this either. They're fine with protecting themselves and letting people who aren't sick or who've gotten the antibodies to get back to work. So I'm in that camp where it's like, yeah, keep everyone safe, the vulnerable, the elderly especially, and immunocompromised. But yeah, I'm ready for us to get back to 2019. It was a good year for me, as it was for many people. Anyway, we are just about at time, like I'm saying, but I think we made some good progress here, at least getting his face. I'm basically almost matching the neutral pose to some degree, but I wanted to get the nose at least right, and then here I'll be able to deform things a little bit more and feel like it's in a good place, And it's just interesting. It's interesting to like analyze a face, a head like this so much, because you never pick up these subtleties of a face in 3 dimensions from watching a 2D image move on the screen. So to be able to kind of have this kind of ability to focus in on the literal crevices of Keanu's face is it's pretty cool. It's just interesting because he has a unique face too, and it's not like this classic iconic chiseled look. It's different. It's unique. And being a huge fan of The Matrix and Speed and even The Lake House, man. Like, I actually really like The Lake House. It's definitely like, you could call it a chick flick, but it's just an interesting, smart movie that plays again with time. It's an intellectually stimulating, romantic adventure, I guess you could call it that. It's barely an adventure, but kind of is. Very touching, very smart, different movie. Some people think again like they don't like Keanu's acting, it's a little stiff or whatever, but it's just if you're a fan of Speed and you see Sandra Bullock and him back together, it's something that's very nostalgic and fun about that. I really enjoyed that movie. So anyway, yeah, so interesting guy. I've always liked his work in general. If you haven't seen Destination Wedding, which is with him, I think it's what it's called, him and Winona Ryder too. That's pretty funny. That's pretty good. Um, but anyway, so yeah, this is cool. I'm always in. I mean, I've been kind of getting tired of the Cupid and Psyche piece. I mean, it feels a little bit more exciting because we're getting closer to being done with it. So I'm a little bit more, it feels more energy with that again, because it's like just putting in the muscle detail, it really starts to feel like it's getting finalized in its look, and it's starting to feel more appealing to me. But just again, being a fan of Keanu and his work, and then having this ability to be able to do some work on his likeness, it's fun for me. It's exciting. And who knows, maybe I can get this print to him when it's all done. Maybe I have some friends who know some friends who can, I don't know, maybe can drop it off at Terran Tactical, at Terran's place, and let him hand it off to Keanu. I don't know, because it's Terran's here in California. He's just east of me, a few, like 20 miles, I think, or 30 miles east of me, but not too far. It's really not that far. Maybe a little bit more than 30. I don't know exactly. But he's like east in the desert, kind of, and I'm here toward the coast of Manhattan Beach. But anyway, yeah, my intention with certain things like this is to give them as gifts to the people that I enjoy or admire. So gonna get that Mufasa statue over to Jon Favreau sooner than later this year for sure. And yeah, I think I'll probably get this piece over to Keanu, have him someone get it to his people to give it to him to see if he likes it. And if he doesn't like it, well, he can sell it or burn it. But I'm pretty sure he'll enjoy it. I think it'll be pretty cool, because I haven't seen anyone really embody this shot and this level of detail into any figures of him that I've seen. So it should be cool. Yes, replace that. All right, guys. So we are at time for now. If there's any last questions, let's drop them in the chat quick, and then I will bounce. But let me just go over these, and I'm getting dark here as the sun's setting. We need an awesome Jurassic Park game soon. So much potential. I know, right? Like, I remember as a kid, I loved the Sega Genesis Jurassic Park game, and they did some fantastic work on doing. I think they captured the maquettes of the posable maquettes of Phil Tippett's work that he did for the Jurassic Park animatics, and that's why they photographed them and then put the photographs into the sprites. They are the sprites for the game. That's why they look so realistic for their time in a 2D game. And I kind of wish that they'd make a game. I almost want to try again to do that for my own, an own personal project, and allow a game that you play as a raptor, or you can play as Dr. Grant or a human. I always find it when you can play as a non-human, I always just find that more entertaining, because I'm a bigger fan of animals than people in general when it comes to the arts. So I think playing as Echo the Dolphin, love it. It's such one of my favorite games of all time. I love The Last Guardian because of that bond that the boy has with Trico, right? Toriko. Toriko is such a beautiful, unique griffin-like creature, and it makes you the story makes you really endear to that character, like you do to your dog or your cat. So yeah, I just find playing as animals is very cool, and it's rare in games. Well, rare that it's well done, anyway. And so I remember the Jurassic Park game on Sega Genesis was my shit. I love that game. I wish they would make a game where you can play as a raptor, and it was well done. Or as other dinosaurs too. I can remember the Lost World game on PlayStation was kind of cool. It's clunky, but it was still kind of cool. Can you suggest good introduction to Unreal and V-Ray? Gnomon, I guess. You could look at Gnomon's site for V-Ray for sure. And check V-Ray's site too. I think they might have some stuff on there. Their YouTube channel probably has some tutorials. Unreal, you've got Unreal's YouTube channel is great. They have a lot of great instructional videos. The YouTube has a ton of free stuff on Unreal, and there's always more coming out. So look up Unreal tutorials on YouTube. Udemy has some good stuff on there too. I've used some of their stuff. Yeah, and then Unreal, the Epic Games, they have some pretty good courses here and there. Um, excuse me. Not really as current as everything on YouTube, but they make their own videos for YouTube as well. So check out their stuff. So I'd say YouTube for sure for a lot of Unreal. So you're gonna have to piecemeal together your education there, but it's faster and free compared to, trying to pay a school or it's like most schools I don't think even have full on great courses on Unreal really, because it's just like when I was learning ZBrush, you know, and learning to 3D print, like technology and these things are moving so fast and updating so much that it's really hard for a college level course to be available that can keep up with the pace of how everything changes. The most you might be able to find like Udemy, like courses, online courses that are really cheap or almost free, or free, that would be keeping your education current. So I'd say check that for sure. Excuse me, why don't project details instead of brushing this way? Sorry, just trying to understand. Oh, I mean, I guess because I don't want to just completely shrink wrap everything, because I don't want to go completely neutral. But I mean, I could have done some projection, but if I do all projection, the mouth bag creates problems. I could just mask that. I could, really, I guess, and maybe maybe I will do some of that actually. But hand pushing things around, it just sort of gives you a different feel, and it's also something I'm looking to move again the facial expressions a bit. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll do a little bit of projection, but that means I have to mask a lot of things too, and it's like, meh, it's all good. It seems to me V-Ray is very hard to find new intros. It's also so outdated. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of outdated stuff on V-Ray. It's yeah. How do you deal with making multiple copies of a 3D print? Do you just keep printing copies, or do you make a mold? How do you create it? Comics Legend. Hey, a lot of times I'll just print multiple copies, because a lot of things that I make that I 3D print, you'd have to be in many other parts to be molded, and when it's typically a one-off and it's like a piece of art, I don't feel bad charging a lot for the work, because it is a lot of work. It's a lot of work to sculpt it, and you can get a lot of detail out of molds for sure. Like you can recapture a lot of the same detail for sure. But like I said, it means that you're gonna be limited in how you can pull out, your pieces from the mold without destroying the mold, and or making multiple molds. But then it's still like you just have to segment everything, and then you have to put it all together. And with 3D printing like this guy, this is three parts, and this level of complexity, you wouldn't be able to mold it. All the undercuts, you would never be able to mold this as it is. I mean, it'd be almost impossible. It'd be pretty damn hard. But yeah, it's just three parts, So you've got part 1, part 2, part 3. You can mold this. You can mold this. This would be pretty damn hard, I think, to mold and to be able to pull it out as it is. And then this part, the same amount of difficulty, really. This would be pretty hard to mold. Not the head, but the hands. I think the hands would be the issue here. So anyway, and then my Trico model. If you guys see my Torrico model, it's crazy detailed, and all the feathers are attached to the skin. So you would never be able to mold that, really. It would just be destroyed. But I can show you quickly. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, let me go back in my portfolio here. This is my site. Let's go back this way. Okay, so this is my Torrico model. It's just crazy detailed. I mean, like all these feathers are individually printed as one part connected to their underlying base. You would never be able to mold that. So that's why I'll print multiples of something, because I often try to design things that take advantage of the technology as well. And in this case, I wanted to create something that wouldn't require an insane amount of detail work of having to insert every single feather. That'd be the only way you could probably mold this if you wanted to create like a mass production statue. And you'd have to probably make the feathers a bit thicker, maybe. It would just be a lot of work though, man. I mean, imagine like basically I'd have to recreate this whole thing without the feathers, then use the feathers as negatives to create holes for them to be inserted into, and then you'd have to create some sort of easy guide, I guess, where you could have like patches of different feathers that go within different numbered areas or something. I don't know. It would be hard. It could be done, I think, if you wanted to disassemble this in a way that and then print it so it could be molded. But man, that'd be a lot of work. I mean, it was a lot of work to create this. So I think to create, a moldable version, that would be a tremendous amount of work. But that's sitting behind me over there. The actual model's behind my head. It's right there. Anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna mold some other stuff for some clients here soon, but it's designed that it can be easily molded. What is it? Venaficarius 93. You agree? You agree on what exactly? Thank you so much for your time, artist input. John Garrett, thank you, sir. If you want to find me on LinkedIn, please do. Why do you have to separate? Was it playgroup? Polygroup, you meant. Polygroup for the jaw. Oh, because if I want to open the jaw, I just can mask easily that way. So if I just do polygroup and I just hit control and click on it, bam. Now I just blur that a little bit, and then I do like this, and I go like that, and suddenly, he's open mouth. So that makes it easier to do that. I mean, granted, I should, change the polygroup in here so it goes inside the mouth a little bit more, but it just lets me edit the lips and mouth a bit easier, And it really, if you want to do that efficiently everywhere, I would say, you want a polygroup around the eyes, you want a polygroup probably around the nose, so you want a polygroup areas where you'd have like muscle groups be doing like, areas you want to have, what's the word I'm looking for right now? Brain fart. Wow. You have layers for these things. Blend shapes. There we go. Thank you. God. Blend shapes. So you want to do polygroups around your blend shapes just to make manipulation of those areas like blinking the eye, twitching the nose, moving the lips, all those things to be polygroups. So it makes life easier to isolate those, move them, and get expressions out quicker for blend shapes. Sorry, I haven't had much coffee today. I need more. The Matrix is so cool. Thanks, Daniel. God bless you. Alex, God bless you too, sir. It's hard to keep up indeed. Garrett, light the fires. Yeah. Thank you, Comic Legend. Appreciate it. Comics Legend. Super Bowl time for a few. Yes, sir. Just finished an online class with one of the ZBrush artists working for Tippett Studios. Yes. I've met Phil Tippett multiple times. Have his number. He's a great guy. I love Phil. Phil's awesome. I need to interview him at some point for my podcast. See if I can get him on. I love Phil. Phil's amazing. And the artists that he hires are great. Yeah. If it wasn't for the fact that it's up in San Fran, it's like that area of Berkeley, which I don't really want to live in, I would be happy to work for Phil. But and his assistant was basically offering me at a time to apply. But I just don't want to live in that area. That's the hard part. But now with the fact that everyone's separated from COVID, who knows? Maybe maybe I could do some freelance for them from here. I would love to though, because Phil's a great person. I love his work. His work has impacted my life so deeply for such a long time. It's just how I got to meet him and talk with him, luckily, and he's he's a legend. I don't know what else to say, man. Phil's awesome, and the studio he has and the people he's hired are great. They do badass work, man. They're great. I love them. CGMA, okay, CG Masters Academy, nice. Technology race, very cool. Awesome. Yeah, Alex, thanks, guys. All right, guys, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out. We'll be back here. I'll be back on, what is today? Sunday, so next Tuesday. I'll be back on next Tuesday to continue this. If I don't announce, for those who don't know, by the way, I'll be on, you can follow me on Instagram. Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. If you haven't, please do. It's the best way to keep in touch with what I'm doing and to follow when I'll be streaming next, whether it's on here or if it's going to be on Twitch or YouTube or whatever else. We'll be announcing when I'm going to release my first podcast episode soon. I interviewed the legendary sound designer from The Last Guardian, also who did work on The Last of Us, Also did work on the movie Noah. Also did work on Friday Night Lights. A bunch of different stuff. Derek Espino's is a good friend and a great artist in the area of sound in particular, but also a great musician. He can play a mean guitar. So we had a great interview right after Christmas. It was like I guess it was end of December, early January, and I just got to get around to finishing editing it, and then it'll be up online here soon. So that's coming. So keep an ear out for that. Alex, I developed games in UE4. It was fun, but computationally expensive. Now I'm developing games in Unity. I love Unreal real-time rendering. Yeah, I hear you, dude. Yeah, Unity's cool too. I've worked a little bit in Unity. I worked on a VR game in Unity that's still yet to come out. But Classroom Aquatic, if you guys know that game, it's a great game. It's funny. It's a great demo anyway. It's eventually coming. Anyway, okay, guys. So that's my Instagram. Please follow me on there. I'm also on Clubhouse, same handle. Twitter, same handle now, and my website, of course, for those who saw it. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn for any reason, I just look up my name, Daniel Enrique De León, and the Twitch. So yeah, I'll be starting a Patreon soon for the podcast. What is Clubhouse? Clubhouse is like basically a new app that's blowing up where you can hold a room, so to speak, like a chat room, but it's literal chat. So we're speaking like we are now, except there's no video. And it's just a bunch of people that can come in, kind of like a radio broadcast, basically, kind of. You can have callers in a sense, sort of, too, where you can host the room and have certain people be speakers and rotate through them. And a lot of people then, they can have an audience then that just comes in and listens. So it's all audible. So it's audio. Really, but it's great. You can get an invitation if you haven't got one. Ask someone who has some invitations to give. So not just invite only, but I mean, a lot of people are sharing the invites. So yeah, that's what it is. Oh yeah, an email. So all right, guys, that's all. Sorry for the long goodbye. Take care. Have a great week. Stay safe. Don't get the Rona, and I'll see you guys here next Tuesday.